hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, I'm Bob Weisblum. Actually, I'm using my wife's iPad, so it says Rosalind Weisblum. So if you do call me Rosalind sometime this evening, I'll understand. So good evening, Commissioner, and thank you for participating in tonight's forum. We have picked several issues that are of concern to our community, and we'd like to get your ideas on them. If you are elected as mayor, the leadership you will display regarding these issues. The first issue we'd like to talk about is the Aventura train station. The train station, in which ground has been broken, is located just south of Ives Dairy Road between Northeast 26th Avenue and Dixie Highway, which are both two-lane roads already at capacity. The proposed pedestrian overpass crossing US 1 to the Aventura Mall will not be built, if at all, for at least 4 years, which will necessitate shuttle buses running between the station and the mall. This area cannot handle additional stress. What is your position to alleviate this traffic problem?
Well, thank you very much to the group for inviting me. I am quite familiar with the beautiful area and very grateful that you've come together as homeowners to advocate collectively. That to me is the most important thing, is for citizens to speak on the issues in their neighborhoods. I was very concerned when this proposal came to the board. I did ask questions about the timing. I did learn about the delay and was very unsatisfied about the answer. You may know that I in fact voted against the $76 million purchase through Brightline because I thought there weren't not enough accountability measures in place. For it. It was going to be, at that time, it wasn't even really going to be commuter rail. There was no discussion about stops along the corridor. It was only going to be Aventura to downtown. It was going to be about a $20 round trip fare with just a few parking spaces. And also, it, you know, by its very nature, this bus not being the bus instead of a crossover made it not very consumer friendly. And it was truly not going to, in my opinion, alleviate the traffic concerns in the area. It was not going to serve enough people and be conducive to those that are really transit dependent. So that to be said, you may all be aware that right now there's a dispute as to what can move forward on those tracks because FECR is the company that owns the access to the tracks, not Brightline. And Brightline has the ability to negotiate for access, but it's subject to approval by FECR. So arguably, the negotiations between Brightline and the county are not even effective without the approval of FECR. So I am extremely concerned about this. We're going to be discussing it at the next Board of County Commission meeting. There's another problem, which is that Brightline decided to change the protection system it has to positive something. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the exact name, but that is not yet approved by the federal government that has to make sure that it's safe. So we do not know, and I spoke to FECR about this, we do not know how long it could be. It could be multiple years until that approval is granted. So you could say, well, during that time, the flyover could be built. So, you know, I would say from the things that you're pointing out that without that flyover, this is really not a safe situation. And had I been the one negotiating, we would not be in this position where we would have put the cart ahead of the horse and basically done a $76 million giveaway to Brightline without any guarantees that they would allow Tri-Rail in on the tracks, which is already available. And by the way, they may be purchasing the services of Tri-Rail to come in. I mean, it's just so undetermined. And Brightline in Boca, for example, paid for the station. They did not get the local municipality to pay for the station. So to my mind, this was pushed through without adequate consideration. And here we are without any guarantee whatsoever that this train is going to run in the near future.
Rick and I are members of the Aventura OGIS Study Advisory Group. And at the last meeting, the report summarized that they cited at the sites problems of traffic, biking, pedestrians with the Biscayne Boulevard, West Dixie Highway. So I brought up a simple question as, The pedestrian bridge solves major problems, takes away with the traffic problem. They drive to the mall, plenty of parking, and cross over to the station. Why are you telling us 4 years? It doesn't make sense. Why isn't it built consistent? No one had an answer. They said, we'll get back to you. We'll speak to FDOT. So that to us in this area is the sticking point. You got to have that pedestrian bridge consistent with building the station. Otherwise, we're looking at years of more traffic gridlock in that 2-lane highway. That's the big problem.
Yeah, I do believe, I do believe that the mayor wanted a win. He wanted to show that he had created a commuter service. And so this was rushed through, in my opinion, without adequate consideration to all of the consequences.
So if you were elected mayor, would you be able to give some muscle to the fact with the pedestrian bridge, at least get it built, not 4 years, but as quickly as possible?
Yes, as mayor, I'm going to be asking tough questions. I would be in charge of the negotiation. Like I said, I'm not even persuaded that that we can have a train running on that track. FECR is restricted by their priority is their freight, and the number of trains and the passengers that are projected exceeds apparently what FECR would be able to approve without compromising its freight business. Also, they told me that the station itself interferes with freight access, something that they need to be able to load freight. So again, I mean, I'm just totally perplexed how we could be in this situation. So I can assure you that as mayor, I will be making sure that this thing is well planned, that it makes sense, that it addresses the traffic issues, the pedestrian safety issues, as well as that we are delivering something real for the commuting public.
Thank you, Commissioner. The next issue is the short-term vacation rentals. So our community's quality of life has been severely impacted by the number of short-term rentals that are being used as party houses. The police are called constantly and are now only able to enforce noise ordinance violation since the mayor's executive order, which did really not provide much relief to us, has expired. Code enforcement is currently not able to work nights and weekends when these parties are occurring, which leads in some cases to a 45-day lag time for citations to be issued. What would you do as mayor to combat the situation?
Right. We have the same problem in my district. And in fact, we had scheduled a call, and some of you may have been on that call to talk about some of the concerns about enforcement. Let's start with code enforcement not being available on weekends. I actually had to personally fight to get code enforcement to work on Saturdays. I mean, that is ridiculous. That as a commissioner, I had to push to basically create flex schedules so that they could rotate around and different code enforcement officers be available on Saturday. It doesn't include Sunday. They're not around on Sunday. So, it makes no sense to have a code enforcement office that is not serving during times when there are problems to be enforced. So I will change that. That is number one. Number two, the way I understood it, it was explained to us by the by our county attorney, is that it's really very limited based on the permissions that were given to the short-term rental companies. I'm not satisfied at all. It's clearly noise, that's one thing, but people are in violation of the agreements that they had. If they are renting to people just for party purposes, which you can get by observation, that is not supposed to be allowed. We should be able to enforce it. And so, it is, when we voted for this policy, I thought, okay, we'll be able to enforce, but now we see that enforcement has been lax and that the rules are really not being enforced. So I will definitely, as mayor, be looking at how we can double down and prevent this diminishment of quality of life for people in residential neighborhoods who should not have to be plagued with these unfortunate activities.
What actually does the code say? What's the minimum stay for a short-term rental?
I'm so sorry, I don't remember, but I know that it is being violated. I'm sorry, I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad what you said with the code enforcement, because I personally had a problem 2 doors away where the violation was strictly on the weekends, commercial vans parked and cars all over. And when I would call, they say, well, we don't work Saturday and Sunday, you know, and by Monday they drive away.
No, like I said, I had to push to change for Saturday because we have a lot of issues in South Dade with sales along the roads and all kinds of things. And so I got them to change that.
Okay.
While we're on the line, I'm going to try to get how long the vacation rentals, what's the minimum.
But you identified the main problem is the enforcement. There's no teeth.
Yeah, Bob, let me jump in for 1 second. Commissioner, it was myself and Alicia Sachs who you met with a couple months ago, and we appreciate your time. We were able to bring some of what you mentioned to our commissioner's office, and hopefully, you know, you guys can affect some change because it's bad. We have, like we told you originally, we have 22 properties in our area that are being used as party houses. And everybody that's on the call is being impacted in one way or another, some more directly, others indirectly, but it's been bad.
Yeah, not okay.
Okay. The next issue I'd like to bring up is incorporation and annexation. So in 2018, our area of approximately 19,000 people tried to incorporate, and at the election, we lost by 101 votes. Those who advocated for incorporation believe in the concept, government closer to the people is the most effective way of governing. Broward County works on the premise that it deals with the big items, regional issues, and all the areas in the county which are incorporated deal with municipal issues. What's your position regarding that the county should get out of the municipal government business and direct its attention to regional issues like Broward? And if you are elected mayor, will you lead the effort that the unincorporated areas of the county either be annexed by adjoining cities or be able to incorporate so that people who know best, the residents, can govern themselves regarding the local issues?
So when I came on the commission 6 years ago, shortly thereafter, we received a very comprehensive report about incorporation from a consultant in which they talked about a tipping point, after which it really didn't make sense for the county to continue to provide municipal services, that it should go to full incorporation like Broward. But we weren't there yet. And my inclination was to allow it to more organically move forward. Obviously, the rules of incorporation are such that you get the petitions, then you have the election, you know, and I was satisfied to allow that process to unfold. I do think that as we face larger regional issues like sea level rise, septic to sewer conversion, transportation challenges, that the county should assume an increasing role in regional planning with the 34 municipalities and others as they evolve, and kind of redefine itself as the regional planner with access to quality planning staff, demographic staff, and then work with the cities around how to respond. And I give as the example, all the cities going to Tallahassee asking for individual water project funding and not collaborating across city lines. Whereas, you know, the water table is the same from one city to the next, and we're not working together. It's inefficient, it's ineffective, it's cost ineffective. So I think that the county, much like happened after Hurricane Andrew, when the county took the lead on new building standards, the county needs to be not a boss, but a facilitator and a convener to work with the city. So I think as we are having that conversation, it will be important to have the conversation that you're posing. So I'm not ready to say we're ready for full build out, but I do think that we need to have the conversation. Maybe UMSA, which is, I guess, like the largest city, maybe shouldn't be one UMSA. Maybe it should be, you know, divided up in some way. But I'm not right now ready to say that we should arbitrarily divide things up into cities without there being some momentum from the community, because you need to have people that are ready to step up for leadership roles. Incorporation does require local leadership. So I think we want to, have that conversation and maybe work with more people to understand it, who may then be interested to step up and play those roles.
One of the driving forces that led us to incorporation was our area gives about $2 million in taxes every year to the county that we do not get back in services. And that money hence would then stay here if we were a city. And that's a big driving force. We have no seat at the table on important issues that arise. And the Miami Herald, when they endorsed us to incorporate, called our area a blob. And that's basically the way we're treated, a blob, and then we're the orphans of day. Yeah,
my
that's
goodness.
the way they refer to us in the
Wow.
yeah.
If I could just add something there, I think that what you just reported about how basically you're a donor community to the county, I've been actually pushing to have separate budget so that we could have that kind of data. So that is something I'd like to pursue as mayor, that we would be more transparent, exactly to understand how the dollars flow to UMSA, to the general budget, et cetera. That would help people, I think, better understand the choices and move forward with the determinations.
Thank you. The next issue would be increasing police presence. So the Miami-Dade Police Department Intracoastal District, which we are member in that district, which serves our community admirably, provides coverage to a very large area in Northeast Miami-Dade County, at times though with diminished manpower. We are in a district that goes all the way south to 79th Street and east to Hallover. Because there's more crime in those areas, we hardly see police patrolling our streets on a consistent basis. To be a safer community, we need proactive policing of our neighborhoods rather than reactive by calling 911. If we were successful with incorporation, we would have had our own police force and a better chance of community policing, neighbors knowing police officers and the officers knowing the residents. In light of the current budget situation at the county, what are your plans to maintain or grow the police force, and how would you address community policing?
So I'm not as familiar with your area, obviously, because I've served as commissioner in South Dade, but we had very similar issues in South Dade. About half of my district is unincorporated, and then I have 3 cities. And I worked very hard to get a study done of the policing needs in our district. And then I was able to lobby effectively for an increase by 80 of officers in the area because of the growing population and the lack of adequate policing. I've also been a big champion for community policing for the reasons that you say, closer to, friendlier, known to, understand the neighborhood and so on, and working collaboratively. And in South Dade, we have really very good community police units, neighborhood resource units, and they are well known in the neighborhoods that they serve. So I think at the very least, that's what you're entitled to. I need to, understand exactly, what would be the pressure points and what we could do to improve it. But again, it's been said that I'm all about defunding police. I hope you could see from what I've just told you that that is very far from the truth, that I have fought for increased police budget every year, and especially to my unincorporated areas.
Thank you. The next issue I want to bring up is the deteriorating walls along Ives Dairy Road. I don't know if you're familiar with the area. Just east of, you get off I-95 to Northeast 26th Avenue, right before Aventura. The walls are an eyesore that, though the privacy walls along Ives Dairy Road are the responsibility of the homeowners, they have deteriorated to the point where it's almost an embarrassment to the community. We have tried to work with the county to come up with a solution to beautify and enhance the area, but have not been successful. What can be done at the county level to create a better first impression for both tourists and locals entering into the northernmost portion of Miami-Dade County? What creative solutions, thinking out of the box, maybe public-private partnerships, because if you do go that area, you see it's a tremendous eyesore and it deteriorates from a really beautiful community that we have, and it just needs to be addressed. And so far we've struck out, we worked with Sally a little bit, but Sally says there's a question with the homeowners because the wall would be on their property. I brought up to her that on Northeast 18th Avenue, where I reside, we put up a wall and we had the homeowners sign a waiver allowing that wall to go a little bit on the property. So I thought that might be an idea, but we need the county to work with us so that we can enhance that community walls.
So I wasn't aware of it until I learned about it through you, but we did have in South Dade some walls in neighborhoods that have the same issue, which is that they were created at the time of the development, but then there's nobody in charge of the totality of the wall. It goes to each individual homeowner. So people either maintain it or they don't. They paint it one color or a different color. And obviously it's very unsightly. So what we did was we got together with all the neighbors and we came to an agreement, and they all agreed to allow the wall to be repaired and painted. And then we used some discretionary dollars from my budget, as well as got some services donated to bring the cost down. And we made, now again, it was probably not as big a wall as what yours is, but it was something that we were able to collaboratively fix in the short term. Obviously, that's not a long-term solution. I like what you're saying about getting waivers, you know, to obviously, again, that's with the current homeowners. So, you know, there's a similar problem when it comes to seawalls. You know, people are mandated to fix the seawalls, but you know, you have one property that's low, another one that's high. So it really doesn't do a lot of good if you don't do it across the board. So I think this is something that we have to address as a county, that there are a lot of these shared assets that were created without regard for the long-term maintenance. And so I don't know exactly what the solution is, but I'm sure there is a solution. Look, we create taxing districts for people that they voluntarily sign on to pay for lighting or landscaping or security. I mean, maybe we have to do like little mini taxing districts to maintain the common infrastructure. That's just one thought.
So when you are elected mayor, I noticed I said when.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor, will that door be open for us to address issues like this and come up with solutions with the county?
You obviously don't know me as well as I would hope, and I look forward to knowing you better, but I am always about working with neighborhoods for solutions. That is exactly my biggest joy. And like I said at the beginning, I'm so happy when neighbors come together and speak with a common voice so that we can work together to solve these problems. Absolutely, my door is always open. And I'll have somebody who will be also liaison to this part of the county, somebody that you'll get to know, somebody who'll be your go-to person to make sure that I'm getting what your concerns are regularly.
Thank you. The next issue is the proposed flyover from US 1 over the train tracks at Dixie Highway and feeding onto Ives Dairy Road westbound to I-95. So our community participated in a citizen committee with FDOT to come up with a design that the community could accept. None of our suggestions were accepted. Not being a city like Aventura that advocated for this project, we, who never have a seat at the table, felt that our ideas and suggestions were never taken seriously. Our suggestion was to construct the westbound flyover to be the same as the eastbound flyover. Although this is a state project being overseen by FDOT, we believe that the county needs to get involved and advocate on our community's behalf. Going west to I-95 will result in gridlock with this project. If you were elected mayor, will you get the county involved and halt this particular project and bring FDOT and our area to the table to come up with a reasonable plan to accommodate our area? This $77 million 5-year project, which FDOT has told us about, will cost and take, will only improve the roadway, get this, from an F rating to a D or D minus. $77 million, 5 years from an F to a D minus. Since we are not a city like Aventura, will you and the county be our advocate so we can get something that's compatible with the area and won't negatively impact us so badly as this project?
Well, once again, I am not really familiar with the details of this, but it does sound pretty horrendous. And FDOT notoriously does its own thing, is really not very accountable to local government. You may have heard Eileen Higgins, one of the commissioners, was so frustrated with FDOT's failure to move forward on a road project in Little Havana that effectively shuttered businesses for more than a year, that she started walking every day, taking pictures, speaking to different media, until FDOT finally realized they better do something or they were going to continue to get bad press. So, I mean, citizen activism, you know, being the fly in the ointment or the, you know, the irritant, can get results. But it certainly sounds to me like something that the county does need to step up. I don't know, have they already broken ground on this project?
They've bought up some commercial areas already and leveled the ground, but we understand there's no money yet for construction. We've been working with Senator Pizzo on that, and we would love for Senator Pizzo and you as the mayor to collaborate and help us so we can come up with a nice solution that everybody will be happy with.
Well, I can assure you that Senator Pizzo, you know him, he's a bulldog. He doesn't let go. He makes sure these things get done. And it's been my pleasure to partner with him in other regards. And I look forward to working with him to make sure we can solve this.
Thank you. And the very last question basically is that if you are elected mayor, will you commit that you or a deputy mayor or some other high official will meet with our board of directors twice a year to hear our issues and concerns and give us that seat at the table we so much desire?
It would be my great pleasure and honor to do so.
Thank you, Commissioner. Rick, that's my questions. You can open it to the board if you like.
Yeah, what I'd like to do, Commissioner, is to open up, we still have a few minutes left, if you're good with that, is to open up to questions from the board members.
Absolutely.
Okay, so who would like to take the first question? Aaron, did you have something? Okay, all of a sudden everybody got really, really quiet.
No. Well, you know, that it was the manatee that bothered me. Commissioner, you know, I found that your understanding of the issues was very impressive. We would like to work with you on all of these things. Incorporation, you know, has always been a big issue with the board, and some oppose it, and most are in favor of it, at least on the board. But we did have an election. An election has consequences. Nevertheless, it seems to me that part of what I found interesting was your understanding of what was happening with the train station and the kinds of things that we were not aware of. Apart from the overpass issue in the 4 years, the unreasonable delay in construction, what we face here is a terrible traffic problem. And if you go behind the scenes, what we've got is really unrestricted development. And I'm wondering, as mayor, would you be looking at the kinds of traffic problems that are engendered by every development? It's you know, we have roads that are only 2 lanes that are already oversaturated and can't be widened, and it's really affecting the quality of life in our community. It would be nice to know that the mayor took an interest in that and tried to protect us from any further traffic, because we're kind of a little isolated community surrounded by this cacophony of unrestricted building, and we'd like to protect what we've got and try and keep this a safe and sane place.
Well, yes, thank you for the question. I just noticed that somebody was asking for my email. So Dee Dee, if you could write in my email and my phone number as well, so people will have access to that. So, you know, I have been 6 years in county government. Before that, I was a community activist. I'm a lawyer and a social worker by training. I worked at Legal Services of Greater Miami, ran the Guardian Ad Litem program, foster care, around the foster care system. I started a nonprofit, Catalyst Miami. So my work has always been petitioning government for the things that people needed. And when I came into county government, there were a few things that really surprised me. And one was how we approve of traffic, of road changes, how we do it. And to your point, or someone's point earlier, that the road was only going to go from an F to a D or a D minus. And what sense does that make for $77 million, right? Doesn't seem to make much sense at all. And we unfortunately often get presented projects, and I don't know whether this was an Aventura project or, their zoning, or if it was a county project, but, it often gets down to what the traffic engineers say. And the traffic engineers use a manual that is very restrictive. It doesn't really account for pedestrian issues. It doesn't account for neighborhood issues. It's very limited in my view. And I've been talking to different public works people who are willing to work with me to take a broader view of these things. That's how we get approved an F to a D road, or how basically things get approved because they won't make traffic worse. Because why? Because it was already an F. So it's going to stay an F, so that's fine. Now that makes no sense whatsoever, in my opinion. So, I want to elevate neighborhood concerns. I am not about favoring cars over neighborhoods, and that is not the popular view. Many of the commissioners have said repeatedly, oh, we need to share the burden. It's crowded over here, so we need to make sure it's crowded over there. That is not my view. My view is that development should be done in a way that does not destroy neighborhoods, that preserves and improves safety for pedestrians and bicyclists. And I'm going to look very seriously at who does those traffic studies and make sure that we take a more holistic approach.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have anything that you'd like to bring up?
We can't hear you.
You're muted, Bill.
Okay.
There you go.
The only thing, our previous conversation about the vacation rentals, the lack of enforcement by the county. If you go on the rental websites, it shows about 7,000 units available for rent in Miami-Dade County. You go on the county's website, only about 30 of them are licensed. So the county is losing a lot of revenue that could pay for code enforcement on the weekends.
All right,
And,
I'm writing it down. I have a list of things I'm going to do as mayor. I'm writing it down. Thank you.
And
And excuse me if I could say something. A lot of the problems in the county are lack of monitoring and enforcement, not just code enforcement. So, you can't just have a rule if you don't enforce it.
amen.
So we have to acknowledge that, and we have to do better.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the commissioner? Alicia? You need to unmute yourself.
Commissioner, we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to remind you that with the short-term rentals, it's not just the enforcement. It's the fact that the police sometimes have their hands tied, because when they go to investigate a house and they ask for a rental agreement, the occupants will say, oh, we're not renting this, we're friends of the owners. And then the police can't do anything. So
Okay.
that's an issue. I don't know how we solve that issue, but that's one of the issues that is preventing us from really enforcing any kind of fines or any kind of citations.
Okay. So yeah, it's like a catch-22, which there has to be a way to deal with it. There has to be a way for them to be able to verify the accuracy of the claim. I mean, like I said, we have to work with the county attorney to see how we can be more aggressive about it.
Shouldn't some kind of certificate be visible in the window or something, mandatory?
There you go. There you go. That's a great one. So is this a
But-
short-term rental or not? But I
Right.
guess even if it is a short-term rental, if you still say, oh, they just told me I could come,
Right.
But then you go and you check with the company, the owner of the home, and they either confirm or deny. But regardless, shouldn't it be that even if it is a friend that they're letting use the house, if it's a nuisance, it's a nuisance, right?
Exactly.
No, one of the suggestions that was made to us at the beginning of the situation, which came actually from Senator Pizzo, he was wondering why the county can't use use the municipal codes, and if there's a violation there, something as simple as fire suppression or occupancy limits, why is that not an option? Again, it's not something that the police can just arbitrarily enforce. It would need to come through a resolution from the county. But is that something that the commission could look into as a way of stronger enforcement when you're up against the state preempting some of the local hopes?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this whole thing of preemption is really problematic because obviously that's how a lot of the difficulties have been created.
Right.
But I will get with Senator Pizzo. And again, I mean, there is nobody who is a better advocate than Senator Pizzo. So I'll be very keen to get his ideas, what we could do and work together.
Thank you. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, I would like again to thank the commissioner and thank her staff for organizing this, putting it together. We appreciate the fact that you now have a little bit better understanding of what our community's needs are. And, you know, everybody that's on this call now, we've lived in the community at a minimum of 20 years. Some people have been here since it was built.
That's
in the
really
early 70s.
impressive.
41.
Incredible.
So again, we're not going anywhere. We're just looking for a little bit of help at the county level to solve some of the problems. And again, we know they're not unique to our neighborhoods, but we do have some unique situations because again, we bump up against Aventura on the train track, County Line Road to the north, North Miami Beach to the south, I-95 to the west.
Right. You're very constrained.
We are.
And yes.
Growth has become an issue. There were some issues in the OGIS corridor. There's some projects coming up for zoning requests. There's been an increase in the height variance to 15 stories along the OGIS corridor. And again, that's great, but the roads, the infrastructure cannot handle that growth.
Right.
So we're
yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to get to know more, to meet you and to get to know more about your issues and to see what I could do to contribute to protecting and preserving your quality of life.
Thanks. Freddie, do you have a question?
I have a question.
Oh, it was Erica, sorry.
Yeah. Hi, Commissioner. So I don't know if you're familiar with this area and the programs that were offered in this area. We have there used to be a Jewish enrichment program in the public schools, 2 public schools here, Waterways and Highland Oaks Elementary. The program was pulled abruptly with no real answer. We've tried to get a sit down with the superintendent. There's been no resolution, no availability from the superintendent to do so. We have over 200 families that are missing out on this enrichment program that were really benefiting from it. And the members want it back. And I just wanted to know what, at your position as mayor, if elected, what kind of authority does your office have to help us bring this program back to the community that is really wanting it?
Thank you, Erica, for sharing that. Authority, no, but bully pulpit, yes. So, for example, how we work with the school board members, they want us to cooperate, and we would like them to cooperate. So certainly to advocate for our residents would be an important part of normally what the commissioner of the area would do, but there's no reason why, a mayor's office couldn't be involved as well. And like I said, there will be a liaison from my office to your area. So, definitely want to know what we could do. And I do plan to have a very strong collaboration with the school superintendent as well, because there are ways that the county could be much more supportive of the school system than we have been. And so I'm hoping that will lead to goodwill and ability to support each other.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. So on that note, again, Commissioner, we appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing how things play out in November. And anything, some of the things that we talked about tonight, I will send you a follow-up email with a little bit additional pictures and some
That's
more
great.
details, especially with the wall, because we've gone from one extreme to the other with trying to come up with solutions, and we're really baffled there.
Very well, and I appreciate learning. As I said, I did want to let you know that I have received some endorsements that might be of relevance to you. The Kendall Federation of Homeowners endorsed me, the Brownsville Civic Neighborhood Association, so that's two large homeowner associations, the Miami Board of Realtors, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Congresswoman Wilson, State Senator Pizzo, the Aventura Mayor, and commissioners, well, more than two, I think 3 commissioners, State Representative Dottie Joseph, State Representative Joe Geller, the Sunny Isles Mayor, Vice Mayor, and commissioners, and North Bay Village and Bay Harbor Council. And anyway, I've been working hard to talk with everybody possible to show that I really am concerned about local issues. I want to work with everybody around local issues. And I know that only underscores the fact that you are without your city representatives. And so it is all the more important that we work with you as an unincorporated, strong neighborhood association to honor your concerns.
Well, again, on our behalf, thank you very much. And we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Very good. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.